In this video, we'll be building the number guessing game in Python. This is a sample. Let's run this sample and let's see how the game works. So we hit run and we are being asked to guess a number between 1 and 100. So let's say we say 50. It says too high, try lower. 30, still too high. 20, a 10, 15. So 13. So let's say a 14. And it says correct. The number was 14. You got it in 7 attempts. Play again, Y or N. So if I say Y, it means I want to play the game again. By the end of this video, you'd be able to build something like this yourself from scratch. Let's begin. So we open a new file and we call it my first game. .py. So my first game.py. So we save this file and then we begin. So the first thing we have to do is to import random. I'll explain what random does in this code. Random is a module. Modules are files which contain several functionality. So I'm importing the random module to give my game certain functionality that normal Python cannot give me. So just one import statement, that's all we need for this game. And the one thing that we need from this is the ability of Python to pick a number that we cannot predict. That's random gives our code the ability to generate a random number. So the next thing we do is to print our headers, something which tells us what the game is about. So the title of our game. So we say print, let me do something like this, sorry. And print, it's called a number guessing game. So number guessing game and print. Okay, so if I run this, this is what I have at the moment. Number guessing game. Okay, so after our headers, we now proceed to build the real program. So what do we do next? So the first thing the user sees once he opens our program is this, which is the title of the particular game we are building. The next thing we do is to build the actual game. So we begin with what we call a while true loop. So I'll call this the real game loop. So the real game loop. So this is the actual game. While true, do something. So while true keeps the game running for as many rounds as the player wants. So it never stops until we tell Python to stop. The next thing we have to do is now produce the random number and accept an input from the user. The next thing we have to do is to generate a random number and ask the user to guess that random number. So let's begin with a variable called secret. And I say secret equals random dot random integer from 1 to 100. So this line simply means random. Notice the same coloration between this random and this random. It means I'm reaching out to this file to do something for me. So I'm saying random should generate a random integer between 1 and 100. Now, for every game, since I intend to display the number of attempts it took the user to produce the right guess, then I have to create a variable called attempts to keep track of the number of attempts. So I initialize to 0. Before you play the game, your attempts is 0. Attempts only begins counting once you make a guess. The next thing I have to do is now tell the user that I've picked a secret number so that he can proceed to guess. So this is how I tell the user, by using a print function. I've picked a secret number and I now ask him proceed to guess the number. I've picked a secret number, proceed to guess the number. So now I've informed the user that I've picked a secret number and I want the user to guess that number. Now, how does the user's guess enter the program? This is where things get interesting. We now have to create something which can take an input from the user and compare that input to the secret number. How do I do this? I have to create another loop while true. Then after saying while true, I now have to create a variable to store the user's input. So I'll call that guess. So I'll say inputs, enter, your guess. So I'll explain. Starting from the innermost parenthesis, enter a guess tells the user what to do to enter a guess. Now going out of that parenthesis, we have input. Input accepts that guess and sends it into the program. Now, input does not just send the guess into the program, but then it passes the guess through a function called int. Int ensures that the guess is converted into an integer, because at the end of the day, we'll be comparing the guess to the secret number, which is already an integer. So we need the guess to be in an integer format for easy comparison. The next thing we do is that we increment the attempts by 1, because the user has now made an attempt to guess. So we say attempts equals attempts plus 1. So we are incrementing attempts by 1. What's the next thing that we do? The next thing we do is to proceed to compare the guess to the secret. How do we do this? We do this by using the conditional statements. So if guess equals secret, so if the guess equals secret, then I should print correct. You got it. Correct. You got it. Now, what if the guess is not equal to the secret? So I say else. Now, there are two conditions. The first condition, or the first case, is that the guess can be greater than the secret. And the second case, okay, so after the user has input a guess, we now determine if the guess is equal to the secret number or not. So let's say the guess is not equal to the secret number. Now, there are so many things wrong with what I just wrote. If guess is not equal to secret, now note that the guess can either be greater than the secret or less than the secret or equal to the secret. So instead of not equal, I'd rather say if the guess is greater than the secret, print too high. Now, I now tell the user what to do. So I say probably try something lower. Okay, so too high, try something lower. Now, what if the guess is less than the secret? So if the guess is less than the secret, I say print too low, try something higher. Okay. And finally, if the guess is equal to the secret, so now notice I made a mistake here. After I began with an if statement, I should have continued with an elif, which is else if. So else, now note that there are three conditions: a greater than, a less than, or an equal to. So instead of saying elif guess equal to secret, I could have just said else guess equals to secret. So else simply means if the guess is neither greater than secret or less than secret. So else print correct. Sorry. Your guess was right. Correct. Your guess was right. And we break. So the essence of the break is to exit the while true loop. Now notice there are two while true loops here. We have the outer while true loop and the inner while true loop. So if I say break, I'm exiting the inner while true loop. Now, why do I break? Break simply means quit. So I asked the user for a guess. The user gave me the guess. Now, if the guess is equal to the secret, stop requesting a guess from the user. That's the meaning of this break. So now, what if we didn't just want to tell the user that his guess was right, but then we wanted to include how many attempts it took the user to produce that guess? We are going to use something we call f strings. So we print f, you did this in, and then we use curly braces, and then we finish with, let's say, tries. So what happens is, because of this f, whatever is in this curly braces is treated as a variable. So I have attempts as a variable. So this attempt, whatever value it has, is dropped into this curly braces. So let's say at the time when this line ran, attempts was 5. So it means it's going to print out, you did this in 5 attempts. So this makes our code very dynamic. The next thing we can do is, after the break, we go back to our while true loop. We don't have to request from the user if he or she wants to continue the game or end the game. We say choice equals input do you want to continue? It's a question. So we say a yes or a no. So we request or we ask the user if he wants to continue by using a yes or a no. Now, if the choice from the user equals a yes, oh, blah, blah, blah. If the choice from the user is a yes, then it means we have to continue the program. How do we continue the program? We do this by using a keyword called the continue. Now, what if the user inputs a no? It means the user wants to quit the program. So else we use a keyword called break. So break is going to quit the program if the user's choice was not a yes. Now, there is still a problem with what we have here, because what if the user typed yes in uppercase? Yes in uppercase is different from yes in lowercase. So the best thing we can do is to include dot lower to convert our user's output to lowercase. And we also include strip to remove trailing white spaces from the user's inputs. Now we can run this code and let's see how it goes. So we begin with our introduction. I've picked a secret number. Proceed to guess the number. So let's say 50. It says too high, so we are supposed to try something lower. Let's say a 25. Still too high. We go with a 10. Too low. A 16.